No, I called her Sally.
Welcome, everyone. Why don't we begin this evening with prayer? I'm going to say a prayer, and I invite anyone that would like to pray with me to do so as well. Let's pray. Dear Comforter, we come to you this evening in thanksgiving and praise. We are very thankful for all the organizations that have come together tonight to train us in Narcan and the usage of it. We're very thankful because that is going to help us to save the people that we love the most. And it may very well help us to save a stranger as well. So we thank you for the people that were able to glean some of your knowledge, which you shared with them, so that they could develop this wonderful recovery medication for emergencies. We thank you. We hope and pray that everyone that listens to the training tonight will have their listening ears on, Lord, and they will learn everything that's said. They will retain it so that they can use it later. So in the name of all that is holy, please, Lord, tonight, share your wisdom, your counsel, and your guidance with everyone in this room. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. I appreciate it. If y'all haven't gotten to see the therapy dog who's here with the chaplains tonight, that's so far been the highlight of my evening, if you know me. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Welcome to Mount Pleasant. We have done this, I forget how many years now. I know we got interrupted by COVID, but Mount Pleasant is an example of a community that has come together to fight this epidemic, which it is an epidemic. And having been an office holder during the COVID epidemic and life and death decisions like you never think you're going to be faced with as a municipality when you run. And the ramifications of that, and when you think this epidemic happens every year, the numbers of lives lost every year, the number of non-fatal overdoses every bit as serious every year, it's staggering. I'm very proud of the role that the town has played in this. You'll hear more about that later. I want to recognize a few people. Representative Joe Bustos is here. I think I just saw Representative Landon walk in. Thank y'all for being here. Judge Irv Condon is here. Thank you so much for being here. Council members Richie and John Icofano are here, and if I missed anybody, let me know. I don't think I did. So, how many of y'all have done Narcan training before? Let me see. Great. It's the closest thing to a miracle that we may ever be a part of. My wife and I have done this several times. We have a family member who had a non-fatal opioid overdose, and we're very grateful. We were within minutes of losing that family member. It's not my story to tell. It's their story to tell. You know, part of the curse of being a family with an elected official is they go parade your story out there maybe when you're not ready, and I'm not going to do that. But it's the closest thing to a miracle that some of us will ever have. I think you will feel very empowered by the training that you'll get tonight. I've done it twice. Fortunately, I've never had an opportunity to use it. But every time I see that box when I go somewhere, I think, because of the Charleston Center and because of Mount Pleasant Police and because of coming together like this, we may have the opportunity to do that. And I'll use the word, and if you're a lawyer, I hate to say it, without consequence, because you cannot be held liable for trying to save someone's life with Narcan, and you cannot injure them, but you'll hear more about that in a minute. So after we do this, which is sort of the antidote, we'll go outside and we'll have the more solemn memorial, and we'll remember those that we have lost. So we'll go from, here's what we can do, and here's how you can prevent this, to the sad remembrance and the profound remembrance of when those lives weren't saved. And I want you to think back on this while you're out there, that you, by taking this step, may save someone's life, and that's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. My name is Sergeant Steve Coudron. I've been with the department for 10 years. Been mostly in patrol for the last 6 months. I transitioned to supervisor over our mental health unit. So part of my responsibility there is to coordinate our overdose response program. So what I want to do is kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing, kind of changing what the response had been typically, and kind of take it through the call to service. So when we get a call for service that involves an overdose, we obviously respond, EMS responds, fire responds. What our purpose there is to look for safety, to save lives. We're not looking to make charges in those situations. As the mayor alluded to earlier, there is the state has enacted legislature called the Good Samaritan Law. So as long as if you're somebody who's calling, you're on a scene where somebody overdoses, even if you were using drugs together, if you stay on scene, call for help, you're the first one calling for help, or you believe you're the first one calling for help, you stay on scene, you give the dispatcher your name, your real name, you stay there until first responders arrive, and that you cooperate with them with any questions they may have. Questions are not interview questions for investigative purposes. I want to make that clear. So questions just might be safety related. We're not looking to interview anybody on these scenes to make narcotics charges. So that's state legislature. I can tell you 100% that the department is 100% behind that, and the spirit of it is that we're looking to get people help in those situations. So once officers arrive on scene, determine it's an overdose, they may administer Narcan. All of our officers carry Narcan with them. They have 2 doses. And after that, we are looking at just making sure that scene is safe. And we follow up with the family, if there's family or friends or anybody else on that scene. The supervisors respond to all overdose scenes, fatal and non-fatal. And they have what's called a link to resource kit, which looks a lot like this, just has some stickers on it that says Link to Resource Kit and has Wake Up Carolina's logo and the Mount Pleasant Police Department's logo on it. And in that kit contains some gloves, a CPR mask, and 2 doses of Narcan. And there's a card in there as well that has a QR code. It has both logos for the police department and also for Charleston Center. And that has a QR code that will link to Wake Up Carolina's website. So we've been partnering with Wake Up Carolina. They do all of the follow-up for us, which has been huge. People are much more responsive to peer recovery individuals coming, and versus police officers, even if we might not be in uniform. There's just a lot of times people don't want to answer the door, they don't want to take the call. We get that. We've had much more success with Wake Up Carolina conducting all that follow-up, and they follow up. We use a software system, enter the information. Part of our partnership with Wake Up Carolina is that they have access to the software system, so they get immediately alerted that there's been an overdose, and they follow up within 24 hours. We're looking at changing that and making that even a shorter span. I think within 3 hours is what our target is in the future. Wake Up Carolina coordinates all that. They can help with getting people into treatment services. and you know, trying to get them on the path to recovery. And we've actually left these kits. This has only been for a few months now, and we just recently this week had a mom who was able to utilize a Narcan successfully with her adult son, and she said that I used the Narcan from the kit that you guys left last time. So, you know, there are stories like that. We don't always get to hear those details. In this case, we did. She did share that with the officers on scene, so that's really important. And I think that's the key, is really the partnership with Wake Up and with Charleston Center. We do monthly Narcan training, second Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. here at Town Hall. Charleston Center does the training, but myself, Wake Up Carolina, and Charleston Center are here, so it's a coordinated effort. And that's really kind of what we're looking at. So some of those changes have involved sharing information in a way that hadn't been done in the past, so that the follow can be done more quickly. So we're not waiting a week or 2 weeks or something like that for somebody to follow up. It's done, you know, like I said, within 24 hours, and we're looking to shorten that time frame in the future. So that's all I had for tonight. I will pass you over to Dr. Shonda Fentanyl from Charleston Center. Thank you.
Good evening. I just wanted to say thank you to Mount Pleasant Police Department and Wake Up Carolina for being just fantastic partners in this fight that we have together to save lives in our community. Narcan training is one of my favorite things that we do. I've been the director of the Charleston Center for 12 years. I've worked in the field of addictions for over 30. I come from a family that is justice involved and someone who died from their substance use disorder. And so this work is very personal to me. And one of the biggest challenges that we face in our community is stigma around getting help and stigma around the use of Narcan. And we hear a lot of things like, why shouldn't we get free EpiPens? Why shouldn't we get free insulin? And my thing is, why shouldn't we get free all of that so that we can all work together to save lives? And so it's really wonderful that everybody is here to do the Narcan training, because that means that it's not just Mount Pleasant Police Department, it's not just Nancy, it's not just me, but it's this whole room working together to help support our community and save lives. And we have to be able to save lives so that we can connect them to treatment. And that's kind of where I fit in, because I have worked at the Charleston Center for 20-something years. And that's a place where people can get treatment, from residential to detox to medication-assisted treatment to outpatient services to prevention work in schools and in the community, and it gives a chance to people start to get on the road to their recovery journey. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining our fight and being warriors out in the community with us to save lives, and really appreciate it. And if you know somebody else who can benefit from a Narcan training, bring them on to our next training when we have it next month. So with that, I am going to pass it on over to Nancy.
Hey, I'm Nancy Shipman. I'm not a big fan of microphones, but I'm going to do my best. I want to thank you for being here. What you see, this event is very special to all partners. And, you know, we often hear community partners and trusted partners, but what I can attest to you is this partnership didn't happen overnight. This was my home that stood with me when I lost my 19-year-old, so it's very personal. There was not judgment. This was the family, the town hall, the police department that was willing to have a conversation 7 years ago. A conversation about what's being done, and sharing with the police chief at the time that I didn't know it was here, and why did I have to lose my son to know that people are dying in this community and people are living in recovery. That's what my son was looking for. He was very open when he went to treatment for the very first time at 19 years old, that he wanted his life and family back. And we wanted that for him too. But all I knew about treatment and recovery is what my 19-year-old shared for the very first time. And through his loss is one of the most amazing communities that supported us, the one that I love here, that we built partnerships with, as well as the recovery community. So I want to tell you how encouraged I am to see a room full of people that are here to get trained with the one way to prevent an overdose, and that's with Narcan. Narcan is a tool, and that's the beauty of what this partnership is. We have the Narcan, we have treatment with Charleston Center, and we have first responders that care and get it. They get that there is a war right now with fentanyl that has been a game changer. They recognize that this is a disease. This is a brain disease, and it's a family and community disease. And family recovery and community recovery are required in order for us to heal. So this event, like the Way for Hope, luminary event, and training, this is your tool to save a life. And over half the people that, from my experience, that have been trained have used Narcan on someone they didn't know. So anyone that's in this room, I highly encourage you. Use your voice, share that you were here, share that, do you know most people that get trained use it on a complete stranger? And the people that didn't go to training that have come back and said, oh my gosh, I was in an awful experience, I never want to be without Narcan again, they share it with everyone. So I commend you for being here. I commend you for being brave. I commend you for taking an active role in your community. And after this event, it is a really sad thing to know that there are all these lives that have lost to substances, but there's so much more beauty with these lives. It may be substances that is the loss, but it's their life that's beautiful, and it's the family and friends that hold these memories that we continue to honor every year on this day. There is hope, there is recovery, and you're not alone. I encourage you to look at wakeupcarolina.org so you can see what all we do, since I didn't really share what we do. But I'm thanking you, and the other important thing besides Narcan is to have testimony, right? Is to have testimony of somebody that is willing to share their truth with people that may have experience, people that don't have experience, or people that have experience and they don't know that they do. So I want to introduce Tim. Tim is going to share his truth.
I would stood right there. My name is Tim. I can say Tim Dennis. I'm a recovering addict, and a member of I figure out exactly what to say, so I don't want to break into traditions. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous, and this is my experience with recovery and with Narcan. Unfortunately, I made it quick because first off, I'm very nervous, and second off, that kind of thing looks beautiful. So I'm in recovery. I believe I was born an addict. It's a disease. It's listed as a disease because it's a mental disease that's progressive, incurable, and fatal. Right? It just is. And it affects every walk of life. I've seen it affect every walk of life. The first I'm from New Orleans, right? And the first time I was introduced to recovery, a friend of mine took me out to dinner, because that's what we do, right? Like, people come to meetings, like, let's go out to dinner, get to know you. That's how they welcome you, and I was nervous as hell. But I was sitting with my friend, who was a drug dealer, a politician, a divorce attorney, and two crackheads that had just come off the street. And we're all sitting down at Emerald's eating. And so I know it affects every walk of life, right? Like, no one's exempt from the disease of addiction. I realize there's a stigma around it. Like, I get it, I don't know what to do about the stigma. I've been in recovery for a minute, and so I'll just get to my experience with Narcan. I had some time, I had some years, and developed in recovery, you develop a whole new way of living, right? And it's a very, we try to live by spiritual principles, right? So we try and take our lives as we had them before, and flip it on its ass, you know, and I've been doing that for a while, and you know, I am a multi-business owner. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I'm not gonna bring up, you know, I'm basically just like y'all, man. You know what I mean? I pay my taxes. Try and do good, and help people when I can, right? And that's basically human nature, right? So something happened. My mother passed, right? And so when she passed, and she was my only parent. And then I came back here, and my best friend died. And so when he died, let me sorry, because when I say something, I don't plan anything, because I figure if I plan stuff, I'll just start lying to you guys and trying to look cool and stuff like that. So I literally just come up here and say a prayer and just tell you the truth of my life. So that's what I do. But so when the day my mom died, my uncle was like, you need help. And I was like, I've been to meetings, yeah, you know, I'm good. I wasn't good. And he gave me this stuff called Kratom, right? Which you can get at any gas station. It's crazy, right? And I was like, oh, this is no big deal, dude. It's like, that's easy, bro. Like, I'll just take some, because it was right next to the ginseng too. And I figured if it's something right next to the ginseng, like, how can it be bad for you? And if it's at a Circle K, it couldn't be bad, right? But they also sell beer at Circle K. So anyway, so that ignited my disease all over again. And because I just didn't want to feel anymore. You know, it wasn't like, I think there's a misconception that like addicts like just want to party, and it's not true. A lot of addicts I know, and myself included, usually take substances to feel somewhat normal, right? Anyway, so I did that, and came back here, and didn't really want to start my time all over again. Didn't know what to do, but the disease was awoken in my body, and I didn't want to feel anymore. I was in a lot of pain. I was in terrible pain. And then my best friend died 3 days later here, out of nowhere. And I was like, fuck this. So I went and, you know, got substances that would make me not feel anymore, you know. And the funny thing is, so I've been in and around recovery for over 25 years, right? And I know my doses and I know my limits. Let's just say that. And I was just trying to escape my feelings, and so I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with what a key bump is, but won't say it out, especially with the police right here, right? I'm sure a lot of people have done key bumps, probably everybody in this room, right? But so that's what I did, right? And I woke up in the hospital in MUSC with the woman saying she had saved my life, and thank God she didn't believe my daughter. And the reason she didn't believe my daughter is because like they had never seen me high, right? All they had seen is the 10 in recovery. They had never seen. They didn't. You know, nobody thought that fentanyl was there, or you know, no one knew. You know. And so I almost died, and I remember being paralyzed at MUSC, and just thinking, I just want to see my kids, right? Because I was paralyzed. It was the weirdest thing ever for like an hour, and this machine kept going off behind me, right? And the question, I guess it was like an oxygen level thing or some shit like that. And then it went like for a half an hour. Like, my prayers went from, please just let me see my kids again, like, please just let me say goodbye to my kids, right? Because I wanted them to have what I had with my mother, because I got to say goodbye to my mother, okay? And luckily, I pulled through. And so the second I pulled through, I immediately got back involved with Narcotics Anonymous, and it's kind of like, it kind of hurts to say that I was thinking that up here, because I know some of y'all like lost your kids, you know, and that's fucked up, you know. I couldn't imagine like losing my child to this, right? So anyway, so now I'm involved with Narcotics Anonymous again in recovery. We developed a card, right? So I don't know. I could probably say this and not like violating traditions because I make movies about it and shit. But so Bill W, the guy who like started Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Like there's paintings of him like going into hospitals, right, and talking to people. Like he would talk to them, right? And a huge fellowship that spawned my fellowship evolved from that, right? So what we did was we took technology and what we're hoping to get. So we made these overdose cards, right? And these overdose cards are for victims of overdoses, like when they overdose, right? And what's on it is a QR code. See, yeah, because quick reference. Yeah, stands for quick reference. I always thought it was QV code because I think that sounds better. But it's a QR code for that reason. And so, like, the person, and what I've also found out recently from people who relapse and newcomers is, like, everyone has a phone on them. So I got clean, the first time I got clean was, like, 2000. And a lot of my friends, they'd always have guns on them, right? So they could always, like, score. Well, now, addicts, and I'm assuming alcoholics, always have phones on them no matter what. They never get rid of their phone. So what can happen, hopefully, is when someone gets Narcan, they can also be passed this card, which will give them direct access to 2 recovering addicts, one male, one female. The female's with me, right, who can talk to them immediately, right, and immediately get them help, you know, like right then and there. Like, come to a meeting, we'll come pick you up. Do you want to get some coffee? You know, and so that's what we're trying to get done here. But that was my experience with Narcan, is that it saved my life, and it's America. I can't believe there's something like this, and I can't believe it's not everywhere. Like, it should be everywhere. You know, like, why should it not? Politics are so ridiculous. You know what I mean? Just so stupid. You know, I'm type 1 diabetic, and I would love free insulin too. But hey, guess what? You know, like, I can get insulin at Walmart for $25, right? Because I grew up poor, not poor anymore, but I know where to get it. You know what I mean? And no one's ever going to need a shot of insulin to save their life. So that is not a good argument. But they definitely will need a dose of Narcan if they're overdosing. And I'm gonna say this and shut up is I have kids, man. Look, and honestly, dude, like, kids now are just dumb. They just are. You know, they put fentanyl in vapes. You know what I mean? And fentanyl is everywhere. Like, I can't believe it's legal. I think fentanyl should probably be made illegal. Period. The distribution, all of it. But anyway, so like, I've been involved in recovery for a while. Like, I'm 52, right? Like, it's been a minute, and I've never seen a time in our history to where such a dangerous drug. You know, the last thing I can remember was the crack epidemic, right? It turns out the government was supplying that. Crazy, right? But that was the last thing I remember, and that was terrible, right? And I think this is worse. You know, so if there's a drug that can fight it, like, I would say, let's definitely use it, right? And I don't know what else to say. Is there anything else I should say?
All right, on to the training. And Tim's story is so powerful, and I've heard that story too many times, and each time it just breaks my heart, because everybody does deserve to wake up. Everybody deserves a chance to spend time with their children and deserves a chance at recovery. So I'm really glad that we have this opportunity to offer Narcan training and Narcan to the community. So with that, I'm going to introduce Bridget Pickle, who is going to do your Narcan training this evening, after which we'll convene outside in the back for the ceremony. So thank you.
I'm Bridget Pickle. I'm a clinical counselor with the Charleston Center. Funny little story before I start. I told my boss I was a little nervous to do this. I said, as long as I don't get there and forget where I'm at and say, I'm Bridget, I'm an alcoholic, I'll be all right. I just said it. So, but no, we're going to do some overdose education and Narcan administration. Turns out that in overdoses, 40% of the time somebody else is in the room or somebody else is nearby. And so something could have been done. And so it's important just to understand this. And some of the beginnings is going to be a little bit about statistics, and then we'll get into the training part, so we'll kind of rush through that. All right. So it started back with the lack of education. If you can see that bottom right there, that orange, that was in the medical books. And so it's saying addiction is rare with patients treated with narcotics. So that's kind of how it started. And then come the late 90s, Oxycontin was coming out, and Oxycontin was coming big, and they were saying the delayed absorption of that was rare for addiction, which we know that was incorrect, right? And so then the pain assessment comes out. I'm sure everybody's seen one of these, right? And so the doctor comes in, that was their main concern. It was like the 5th vital sign. And so they check your vitals, and then they would put this pain assessment down and have all these spaces, and it'd say, tell me what your pain level is. Oh, shit, I'm at the top, you know? And so then the doctor's main thing is to make sure you're out of pain, right? So then that's how prescription meds started flooding the streets. Everybody started getting prescription meds. There was more prescription meds than there were people. And so that's when DEA comes in. DEA says, what's going on? Why is there so many prescription meds out here? They start shutting doctors down. Doctors get scared. Doctors pull back. Well, then what happens? You still have that person who is on a prescription medication who has now built a tolerance, who potentially is addicted, and now they have cravings. So they're going to the street to find these prescription meds. What's cheaper than prescription meds? Heroin. So, boom. Then that leads the cartel to come in and flood the streets, right? All right. So they, meaning the narcotics, don't wear out. They go on working. They do not have serious medical side effects. So these drugs, which I repeat, should be our strongest pain medications and should be used much more than what they are. So Purdue Pharma actually took out these ads in Oxycontin in 2000. And then 7 years later, those executives would be charged. We will skim through this. So, like we just talked about, the first wave being the prescription opioids, second being the heroin, and as you can see from 2013 on, that synthetic opioid, which is our fentanyl, has taken over. Take a second just to look at this. This is the opioid epidemic by numbers. Again, this is 2019, and the next numbers we're going to look at is 2021. That's the latest data that we do have. But this is the increase and decrease from 2020. Excuse me. So this is the state of South Carolina, the total drug overdose deaths, deaths involving cocaine, deaths involving opioids. And then this is Charleston County, so this is where we're at. So look at those increases and those decreases. That's the mortality data. This is prescriptions for the state of South Carolina. If you look there, our stimulants definitely increased. And then Charleston County, again, stimulants increased. So the important thing here, this is all of South Carolina, and this is the fentanyl overdoses. And something I just want to kind of point out here, you can see obviously as it increases throughout the years to 2020. But if we look at the categories here, the age bracket for females that's the highest is 25 to 24, or excuse me, 25 to 34. And then for our males, our next one is 35 to 44. Right? So like at age 35 to 44, we typically think we have our stuff together, right? So I'm sorry. This again is just Charleston County. All right. Number of drug overdose deaths by intent. I think a lot of times we think that people intentionally want to overdose, so that they meant to overdose, and that's not always the case. And so you can see the bottom green there is suicide. red being total, and then the blue dotted line being unintentional. Obviously, this is kind of a rough number because we'll never know exactly the true number. What are we doing in South Carolina? All right, so like the sergeant was saying, we do have a good Samaritan law here. And so that's kind of twofold. What that means is, say, a group of friends are hanging out, one of them overdoses, they're like, oh, panic. They can call 911 and get help for that person without fear of liability or going to jail or anything like that. The second part of that is, say I see somebody down, I give them Narcan, they wake up and they're like, oh, I didn't want you to do that. Well, I can feel free of liability. I can't be sued for that. Or if I administer Narcan and they still die, I can be free of liability as well. All right, a bill was filed in November for South Carolina. This is basically saying that if you give somebody fentanyl-related substances and they die, you can be charged with fentanyl-induced homicide. The other side of that is a defense for them cannot be that you were reckless or that you was using it improperly or anything like that. So Governor McMaster, this actually just passed in August 1st, stating that it would be a felony to possess more than 2 grains of fentanyl. And you can look there, there's some of the other charges that would go along with that. All right, so it's important for us to kind of understand what opioids or opiates are as opposed to other drugs like stimulants, benzos, and so on. So opioids are illegal drugs that include heroin and prescription medications such as hydrocodone, Vicodin, Percocet, Oxycontin, all of those. They bind to specific receptors in the brain, the GI tract, and the spinal cord. Okay, they stimulate that reward system, and they minimize our perception to pain. So they don't stop pain, they minimize our perception to what the pain is. All right, so this is just a little difference between opioids and opiates. We interchange those almost like Narcan and Naloxone. Opiates are chemical compounds that are extracted from natural plants. Opioids are pharmaceutical industry opioid molecules. The DEA issued a public safety alert stating that 6 out of 10 fake prescription pills contained a potential lethal dose of fentanyl. So that's 6 out of 10. So think about that. That's like 10 people. It's going to be you 6, and right, I get it. That's in your face, but so is this, right? People are dying every day. So that leaves 4. Just one fake pill can kill. 42% of fake pills tested have at least 2 milligrams of fentanyl. The DEA administrator stated, fentanyl is the single deadliest drug threat our nation has ever encountered. Fentanyl is everywhere, from large metropolitan areas to rural America. No community is safe from this poison. We must take every opportunity to spread the word to prevent fentanyl-related overdose deaths and poisoning from claiming scores of American lives every day. So what I wanted to do with this really was kind of cover up authentic and cover up fake and then ask which one did you think was fake and which one was real. And honestly, if I didn't look at this and I didn't know, I would have said them fake pills look real. You can kind of see the difference there, but you can't trust your own eyes because the authentic pills honestly look more fake than the fake pills. Don't trust it. All right, DEA fentanyl seizures for 2022 and 23. 204 million deadly doses for the 2023, and we're not even through that yet. This is what a lethal dose of fentanyl looks like. Illicit drugs do not come with an ingredient list, right? So I can't be like, let me get this 8 bottle of cocaine and be like, that's a little bit of fentanyl in there. That ain't gonna work, right? And they actually, and it's important recently, this 5 people people, they were like family members, they were just going to have a little fun. They got some cocaine, went to the house. The next morning, all 5 were found dead. All 5 of these people were found dead for snorting just a line of cocaine that they thought was cocaine that had fentanyl in it. All right, it is the surge of withdrawal from opioids that make the drug so inescapable. So the way that I like to explain it is, think of your favorite place that you like to go to eat, to get a cheeseburger with bacon, because you got to have bacon, right? So we go get that, and I get excited. That was good. Then, or I gather with friends that I ain't seen in a long time, and I get that happy feeling, right? Or I have sex. All of those things are releasing dopamine. They say, oh, I want to do that again. When I use opioids, it releases such a surge of dopamine that it tells me I need to do that again. I need to do it, right? So I need to do this more than eat, than to drink water, than to have sex to survive. And this is what that kind of looks like. For me, I'm a visual person, so I imagine opiate receptors looking like a waffle cone, and then the opiate going on and being like a scoop of ice cream. That's just how I picture it, but this is kind of what it looks like, and then we're going to get more into that in a second. All right, so what are opioids? They're your heroin, morphine, oxycontin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, opana, fentanyl, heroin. All of that is your opioids. What is not an opioid is benzos such as Xanax, Valium, Klonopin, crack, cocaine, methamphetamine, amphetamine, alcohol, muscle relaxer, Seroquel, Phenergan, gabapentin, all of those things. That is not a opioid, okay? But if you are unsure, say somebody is down, and you're unsure if they overdosed on Xanax or heroin or fentanyl, go ahead and give them Narcan. It's not going to hurt them. Who is at risk? So people that are in pain management for a long time, people who use heroin and fentanyl in various ways, people who are discharged from the ER from an overdose, and lower tolerance, so detox, and people who are in residential. So you might get out of treatment, and if we use again, that disease picks up right where we left off, but the tolerance does not. Opioid overdoses, how does it occur and how to respond? An overdose can occur by deliberate misuse, taking meds originally prescribed for someone else, a dosing error, or mixing opioids with alcohol or other meds. And this, I think, happened later on before we knew what all opioids could do. But say Granny goes to the doctor. She's like, I got back pain. Doctor gives her 5 milligram of Percocet. She takes it for a couple days, and she's like, I feel better. So she puts him in the medicine cabinet. And then little Jimmy comes in from football, and he's like, oh, Granny, my leg. I hurt my leg. She goes, oh, baby, I got something for you. And she gives him some of those Percocet, right? And so that's how that starts. Or they're in the medicine cabinet, because people, some people keep all their medications, put it in the medicine cabinet. He goes in there, gets it for, I want to feel better, and I take this. Please always dispense of your medications once you are through with them. All right, what that overdose is going to look like is slow breathing. Breathing stops, lack of oxygen, heart stops, death. The brain stops signaling to the lungs, so oxygen levels decrease, carbon dioxide increases. This is those receptors again. So the opioid is spitting right on top of the receptor. Basically, once the Narcan is given, it's reversing the opioid, okay? It does not work for overdoses such as cocaine, amphetamines, ecstasy, all of those things. However, if you are unsure, please still give Narcan, okay? It will not hurt pregnant women. If somebody is pregnant and you know they're pregnant, please try and get the least amount of Naloxone as you can, but it's not going to hurt them. All right, let's get into it. So I'm going to check for signs of an opioid overdose. It's going to look something like this. Unresponsiveness to shouting, pain, stimuli, problems breathing, blue, purple, gray face, clammy skin, loss of color, pinpoint pupils, slow heartbeat. The other side is our over-medication, which can happen by accident too. And so that's kind of what that's going to look like too. So good old sternum rub. So the way I like to explain that is like this. Put my thumb or my knuckles out. You're going to put it on the breastbone and you're going to grind in hard as you can, okay? And if they're not responding to that, then they're out. Most people can respond to that. It's very painful. All right, step 2, administer the Naloxone. It's 4 milligrams. You may have to use more than one. Each box comes with 2 doses, and we're going to look at that in a second. So step 2 and step 3 kind of go hand in hand. While I'm giving Naloxone, I can be calling 911, or I can give Naloxone and say, hey, call 911, tell them it's an overdose, bring Narcan. I'm going to support the person's breathing. So I'm going to make sure that airway is clear. I'm going to do something called a head tilt, chin lift. Pull back, open up, make sure the airway is clear. I'm going to pinch the nose and get 2 good breaths. If I do not see the chest rise, I need to re-tilt the head, make sure that airway is open, okay? And then I'm going to get 1 breath every 5 seconds. So they talk about the death rattle here, and if anybody's ever heard that, it's the worst thing that you can hear in the world. It is awful. And if you hear that, resuscitation is going to be needed. I'm going to monitor the person's response. Naloxone only continues to work for 30 to 90 minutes. So what that means is the person can go back into an overdose. So it's essential that you get them to the ER or call 911. I'm going to then put them in the recovery position once they start back breathing. And so the easiest way to do that is if I have the person laying here in front of me, I'm going to pick up that leg that's opposite of me to a 90-degree angle. I'm going to grab the hand that's opposite of me, place it on their face, and I'm going to grab and roll them towards me. Once I do that, I'm going to make sure that leg that I had over is at a 90-degree angle so they don't roll, and their face is there, airways open so that they don't inhale any puke if they puke. All right, so everybody responds to Narcan different or Naloxone different. Some people may wake up angry. Some people may wake up and withdraw. They may be puking. The best thing to do here is talk calmly and explain what just happened. All right, and the sergeant was talking about this too. I think it was, or Dr. Fentanyl. It's Naloxone just a crutch. We hear that, right? Why are we giving out these needles? Why are we giving out Narcan? It's just going to make people use more. Well, there is no research that states that somebody uses more opiates or opioids because there is Narcan on board. The goal is to keep somebody alive, right? If they are dead, I can't get them in treatment. I can't educate them. Some manufacturing storage. You want to keep it in temperatures between 59 and 77 degrees, nothing above 104. Don't put it in the refrigerator or the freezer. Keep it out of reach of children or pets. Again, though, it's not going to hurt children or pets, but if these kids are playing with it, then you lose a dose. Do's and don'ts. Let's do a quick recap. I'm going to support the person's breathing. I'm going to call 911. I am going to administer Naloxone, put the person in the recovery position, and then I'm going to stay with them. What I do not want to do is to slap them or hit them or put them in an ice bath or a cold shower or inject them with anything or try and force vomit. This is not Pulp Fiction, folks. All right, let's do a quick demonstration here. So this is what the Narcan looks like. And these kits, they already have them in there for you. So there's 2 doses. This is what they look like, okay? Inside the box, well, on the box, you can open it up here. That's got quick guide instructions. Also, there's a quick guide instructions inside the box, okay? And it walks you through it. So I see somebody down, I go through the steps, I grab a Narcan. I'm going to put my index finger and my pointer finger on the top. I'm going to put my thumb on the plunger, which is red, underneath. Dr. Funsell, she said, don't do it on yourself. So I'm going to put my thumb on the plunger, and then I'm going to administer it, okay? That's what it looks like. The plunger goes in, put it down, I'll wait 2 minutes. I'm going to observe them for 2 minutes. If I need to give breaths, I will give breaths. And if nothing happens, I'm grabbing the next one. It doesn't matter which nostril I put it in, okay? So if I put it in the right one the first time, the next time I go in, I'm going to put it in the left, okay? And I'll alternate that. And the person who used to do this training, she told me one time that the most she'd ever seen in one setting was 17 Narcans used. That is a lot, 17. So you will keep using until 911 gets there or EMS gets there, okay? So that's your Narcan. Inside these kits that they have put together for you is also a fentanyl strip. Miss Winnie said, don't use pee on it. Okay? She wanted me to make sure I said that. But basically it has a test strip in it, and if you find something that you believe is fentanyl, you're just going to water it down a little bit, okay? You're just going to dilute it, and then you can test it. And the directions are on the back. It's got the one line. If it's over to the side, it's invalid. In the middle, it's positive, and then 2 is a negative, okay? And so those directions are in there. Also in this kit is gloves and a mask. On this other table, we have some handouts that are really good. It's the social media drug trafficking threat. It shows you the emojis and stuff like that that teens and adults are using to pass around drugs. So please grab some of those. Also some fact sheets. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah. It's what? Yes. And, also they say don't put them in heat over 104 degrees. But you got to think construction workers and people like that have them out in their trucks, and it's better to use than nothing. And, I mean, I keep one in my purse, I keep one in my house, I keep one in my car, and if I have to use it, I'm going to use it. Anything else? I appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you. Yes. Please get all the kits that you need.
Once you get your kit, if you want to go out this door here, take a right out that other door, and then we'll be outside on the sidewalk there. You're welcome.
There you go, girl.
I know everybody's milling around, but one other thing I want to add is just we have seen people not go to the hospital. Please encourage people to go to the hospital after if Narcan's used.
Yeah, you guys please grab them. There's some on that table. There's handouts.
What's a pulp fiction?